Maurice got checked on his views about Martell Holt. And the reactions from the other panelists were nothing short of priceless. So stay locked in, because as we break this all down, every detail just makes the picture clearer and the drama juicier. The episode kicked off with Maurice Scott appearing on Carlos King's Messy Monday show. Now, if you've been following things closely, you know the last time Maurice was on this platform. It was memorable for all the wrong reasons mainly, because Soguchi from Bell Collective had confronted Carlos about not feeling protected when he brought her husband's ex-wife on the show. That exchange got so tense that Carlos ended up deleting the video. So when Maurice showed up again this time, fans were already side-eyeing the situation, wondering what kind of energy he'd be bringing and how much defending of Martell Holt he'd try to do. Spoiler alert, he did not disappoint in that department. As the conversation moved to the latest episodes of Love and Marriage, Huntsville, Maurice tried to stick up for Martell Holt, saying that the viewers have put Martell in a crazy headspace over the years. And listen, this is where Dustin, Ross stepped in like a breath of fresh air, shutting that down immediately. Dustin made it clear that Martell didn't just get thrown into a bad position, he put himself there. That's right. No one forced Martell to cheat on Melody Shari. No one forced him to step outside of his marriage.
Okay.
And no one forced him to sign on to a reality TV show knowing full well that his life and his mistakes would be on display for the world to see. Dustin wasn't rude about it, but he was firm. And you could almost see Maurice realizing in that moment that he wasn't going to get away with painting Martell as a victim. Maurice kept insisting that Martell has been battling with his back against the wall for 6 or 7 years, pointing out that we've all watched the demise of his family unfold on television. But here's the thing, Martell made those choices. Yes, everyone makes mistakes, but when you repeat them, show zero accountability. And then deflect blame onto everyone else. Sympathy is hard to come by. Claudia Jordan jumped in to say exactly what so many viewers have been feeling for years. Martell seems like he would be a nightmare to deal with. She called him out for being the type to push buttons, deflect, and manipulate situations to make himself look like the victim. And honestly, that was spot on. What made this even more satisfying was the fact that Claudia and Dustin were not backing down. They weren't intimidated, they weren't playing into any charm, and they weren't letting Maurice spin the narrative. Carlos King was sitting there quiet for most of this exchange, clearly letting the two of them handle Maurice. And to Maurice's credit, once he saw that neither Claudia nor Dustin could be easily manipulated or talked over, he toned it down. He even tried to poke at Claudia by saying he'd rather be diagnosed by someone with college degrees and letters behind their name, and Claudia, without missing a beat, fired right back. That's when you knew she wasn't here to play. The conversation then shifted to the NDA rumors that Chris Fletcher had mentioned, alleging that Maurice and his brother Marseille Scott have women sign NDAs. Maurice was clearly irritated about this, saying he had no idea where that information came from, especially since he and Chris Fletcher don't even hang out like that. He didn't just deny it, he said it was unfair because it dragged his wife Kimmy Scott into unnecessary drama. But when Claudia pointed out that Martell has also called his wife a side chick and accused him of cheating, was just more proof of how messy Martell can be, even toward people he calls friends. This is when things took a funny turn. Maurice claimed that Martell has a tell when he's about to lie. He clears his throat. Dustin and Claudia immediately started laughing, picturing all the times Martell might have done this on camera. Carlos tried to stay neutral, but even he couldn't hide his amusement at the thought. Fans in the comments were already calling for a compilation video of every time Martell clears his throat before dropping questionable statements. It was one of those lighthearted moments in the middle of a conversation that had otherwise been pretty tense. But the highlight was still Dustin's firm stance on accountability. He reminded everyone that every time Martell talks about the demise of his marriage, he dances around the truth, only lightly admitting fault before quickly shifting the blame elsewhere. This habit of avoiding responsibility is exactly why so many people are frustrated with him. Dustin's comment about wanting to shake the TV when Martell talks hit hard because it's relatable. Viewers have been watching this same cycle for years: excuses, deflection, and button pushing without ever owning up to the real issues. What I loved about this panel dynamic is that Maurice couldn't gaslight his way through it. Claudia and Dustin are both quick thinkers, articulate, and not afraid to speak their minds. This made it impossible for Maurice to downplay Martell's behavior without being called out on the spot. And even though Carlos tried to keep things light, you could tell that the truth was hanging heavy in the air. Martell Holt has built his own reputation. And if he wants it to change, he's going to have to start with genuine accountability. By the end of the segment, it was clear that the audience was on the same page as Dustin and Claudia. The idea that they put Martell in a bad place just doesn't hold up when you look at the facts. Martell's actions, both on and off the show, have been his own doing. And while Maurice may continue to defend him, the rest of the panel and plenty of viewers aren't buying it. So, if you've been wondering whether Martell Holt is misunderstood or simply reaping the consequences of his own actions, this conversation gave us the clearest answer yet. And honestly, with Claudia Jordan and Dustin Ross in the mix, Maurice didn't stand a chance at controlling the narrative. This was one of those reality TV adjacent moments where the behind-the-scenes dynamics were just as interesting as the show itself. And I have a feeling the conversations sparked by this panel are far from over. And trust me, you're going to want to keep watching because the tension between defending a friend and facing the truth is something that's only going to get more complicated as the season goes on. If this is what happens when Maurice tries to defend Martell in a live conversation, imagine what's coming when these topics hit the actual show. It's going to be messy, and I am here for every second of it. And then, y'all, the funniest little side conversation broke out when Mrs. Jones chimed in, talking about how Martell has all these tells when he's about to lie. She swore up and down that he'll wipe his nose or mouth, look down toward one of his shoes, and then give that little smirk men get when they know they're about to try it. You could hear everyone on the panel picturing it. Claudia especially was cracking up, and it became